Welcome to At Home with Music. I'd like to talk in this video about modulation. Modulation is the process of moving to a new key, either temporarily within a song or for the duration of a song or composition. Singers often like to raise the key of a song half a step or a whole step for the final verse to add dramatic flair to the performance. We used to listen to songs in the 70s by Barry Manilow where every song seemingly went up to a higher key near the end. It would just modulate to a higher key and then it would end with a very dramatic high note. Now there are times when you have a whole series of songs that are to be performed without stopping. In other words, you're playing a medley. And you might hear this in award shows or something like that, or in an overture for a Broadway show. And so the musicians, the composer, has to modulate from the key of the first song to the key of the second song, and so on. And so that means instead of simply ending one song and then starting the next, they need to find a way to lead smoothly into each new key from the one before. Now, when we talk about modulation, we are opening up a big can of musical worms, so to speak. There are endless possibilities for leading into new keys. Now, musicians usually use a few standard harmonic patterns that occur in the songs themselves. Now, one of these patterns, and we've studied this in previous videos, is the circle of fifths. You know, where you start on C, and then you go to G, and D, and A, and so on, and you work your way around the circle. And so one of the most common examples of a pattern in the circle of fifths is when you have the 5 chord in the key of C, for example, would be G, and it goes to 1. And then 1 becomes the 5 of the next chord. So we go from, say, G7 to C7. We can start here on C7. C7 is the 5 chord in the key of F, but F, or F7, is the 5/7 chord in the key of B flat. And then we have B flat 7. This is the 5 chord in the key of E flat. So you have this whole series of 7th chords, and notice the bass is following the circle of fifths. Another common circle of fifths pattern is 2-5-1. This is really just a little segment of the circle of fifths confined to a particular key. So for example, in the key of C, you see the pattern going from D minor 7 to G7 to C major 7. The D chord here, the D minor chord, goes to the G chord, which is a dominant 7th, and that leads us back to the 1. Very common circle of fifths progression confined within a key. In this case, the key of C. Here's another common progression. Starting on the 1, going to the minor 6, the minor 2, the 5/7, and then back to, and in this case I'm using the 1 major 7. Half-step movement also works. Now we're not using the circle of fifths anymore, but we're using half steps. So for example, we can go from the 2/7, 2 minor 7 chord to this D flat 7 chord and ending up on C. So we've got all these harmonic patterns. How can we use them in modulating from one key to another? Well, let's try a few modulations. Now, let me throw in a little personal history here. When I was a church pianist, that is, I was the guy who played the hymns and so on, and occasionally I was called upon to play the offertory. Well, actually, I was called upon to do that every week. And one of the things that I liked to do was to play a medley of 2 or 3 hymns. And I would have to modulate in between the hymns in order to get into the right keys. So let's say that I'm playing a very popular hymn in the key of C, Holy, Holy, Holy. and I want to smoothly segue or modulate to a hymn in the key of B flat, like Jesus Lives and So Shall I. Now I could simply end on a C major chord and then begin again on B flat. But that's not really a modulation. I basically stopped one song and then started another in a different key. But here's a simple way to make the transition. So I want you to follow me closely. In the key of B flat, the 5 chord is F7, or the 5-7 chord. The 5 chord in the key of F is C7. So we can use the circle of fifths to lead us from the key of C to the key of B flat. So it would sound something like this. I'm coming to the end of the hymn. So you see how I did that? I'm in the key of C. This is the last little bit of the hymn. And then I play C7, which leads us to F7. Notice the circle of fifths, only I'm going down. And now we are in B flat. And so on. Now let's say I want to go from a hymn in a major key to the key where the root is a fourth higher. Well, once again, that's a very straightforward modulation. Let's say I'm going to play Holy, Holy, Holy again because it's in the key of C, and I want to play Amazing Grace in the key of F. Now, the C, which is the 1 in the key of C, becomes the 5 in the key of F. And then we add the B flat to make it even stronger. And this becomes the 5-7, and so it sounds like this. Now I'm in the key of F. Now let's say I want to go to a song where the root is a fifth higher. So we end up here in C, but we want to get to the key of G. So let's see, what hymn is in the key of G? Well, it's not Christmas time, but let's use "O Come, O Ye Faithful." So we go from 1, and then we use, instead of D minor, we use D major and turn it into D major 7 or D7, the D7 chord, dominant 7th, which actually is the 5-7 in the key of G. So it sounds like this. You can also use the half-step movement to modulate from the key of G to B flat. Kind of jazzy, but it works. The various harmonic patterns that we've gone over could be broken into fragments and strung together for a more roundabout route to the new key. So for example, here's a chord progression that takes us from the key of B flat to the key of G. That's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to modulation. Now you can start listening for these type of modulations, and we'll analyze some songs down the road here where I can show you where they modulate. Sometimes in the song, they'll modulate to a different key and then work their way back to the original key. But I could fill videos with countless examples of the various ways to modulate. I would encourage you, take a couple of songs that you know. They could be hymns, worship songs, popular tunes. They need to be in different keys, and then figure out a way to connect them through modulating. Now you can use some of the methods that I've described in this video, and these are just, of course, a few of the many ways that you can make your way from one key to another. So I hope you can have some fun with this. I know this is like I said, it's a musical can of worms, a big can of worms that we've opened here. So if you have any questions about modulating, changing from one key to another, be sure to leave those in the comments section. Thanks for watching. I hope that you have found this enlightening and helpful, help you understand how music works even a little bit more. So once again, thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm very grateful to the many of you out there who have subscribed within the past few weeks. So I look forward to speaking to you in the next one.